Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hi everyone, this is Aaron Tadepalli. Welcome to my channel Tech and Life. First of all, I would like to request you all that not to skip the video. So please do watch this video completely from start to end so that you can get an idea how to prepare for this subject for your end semester, that is object-oriented programming through C++. So keep the programming part aside. From now onwards, you will learn how to work with the different programming languages based on object oriented. So object based and object oriented, where C and C++ are defined. So you need to understand what are the basic concepts you need to focus to crack this examination, to pass this examination. So I hope a lot of the students are having a good internal marks in this subject. So if not, please do focus on some sort of programming concepts and major concepts in OOPS. So let's get started by analyzing what J&K R19 regulation syllabus is speaking about in those 5 units step by step. So I will show my screen so that I can explain you step by step what are the important concepts in each and every unit. So let's get started this video. So please do not skip this video. So please do watch this video completely. So this is object-oriented programming through C++ subject syllabus for R19 regulation for information technology, and this is also common for covered science students. So let's check what is there in this unit 1. So in every subject, unit 1 will define or describe about the introduction part of the core components of the subject. So here also introduction to C++ and what is the difference between C to C++. So what is the basic difference between C and C++? One is object based and one is object oriented programming. So the object oriented programming will work on taking and implementing the complex things in the form of objects and features. So all these features which are imported in the form of objects can be grabbed, and whenever we require, we can use those objects and we can call the functions, we can call all the things using these kind of objects. And in future, when we are trying to develop any kind of desktop applications or web applications or mobile application development, you will learn about component based development. So this component based development is based on this object oriented programming. So any kind of programming language like Python, Java, or R programming or CPP, anything can be an object oriented programming. So you need to understand the basic level regarding the object oriented programming, and programming structure will be different from one to another. So I'm focusing on introduction to C++, and you need to understand the difference between C and C++ programming languages. This is the one of the major important question you can get in either one in all 4 sets. So evaluation of C++, it's not a completely important question, but if there is any chance of giving to give some sort of extra marks to you, they may ask you in one of 4 sets that evaluation of C++. So this is not a great question to learn thoroughly. So just remember the dates and inventor regarding stuff. The object-oriented programming technology. So here comes the major part of the syllabus, object-oriented technology. Let's check in Google what's Google is saying about object-oriented programming, so that you can understand what's the difference between object-oriented and object-based programming languages. So what is an object-oriented programming? OOPS. So it's a computer programming model that organizes software design data or objects rather than functions and logic. So that is, it organizes the software design around the data. That means we design the software and we have the data, and the data will be surrounded with some sort of predefined and semantic structures, so that the data can be efficiently used for further processing. So an object can be defined as the data field that has unique attributes and behaviors. So I am a faculty, I'm a data scientist, I'm a software developer, I'm a freelancer, I'm a YouTuber. So this single entity is working for different behaviors. That is, me as an attribute, I'm behaving with some unique behaviors at a time. So this object is behaving whenever it required in that format. If I'm YouTuber, I have to do YouTube videos like this, and if I'm faculty, I need to teach in the college. If I'm a software developer, I have to go to a software company, or I need to be a freelancer, or if I'm a developer or a data scientist, I can teach data scientists, or I can do some sort of prediction model design and implementation. These are my behaviors. So all these things can be considered as an OOPS concept, that is object oriented programming. The entire part of the data is covered with some sort of structured software design, organizes a software design around a data. So that means we are using the data, that is objects, in a semantic manner. Whenever it required, we are calling those objects, and whenever we are not bothered about those objects, we are leaving. That is, scope of the objects can be defined within the blocks, so that within after the blocks we can remove those and we can clear the catchy things. So if you are good at Python programming, which you appeared as a third exam in this semester, so the same object oriented structure or the same concept will be repeating from Python to this OOPS concepts, but only one programming language concept is different, that is Python and C++. So if you are good at that Python concepts, then you can crack this OOPS concepts easily. But some sort of things are different, that is unit 5 and 4 are different. In Python, it's talking about GUI programming, but here it's talking about different thing. So let's check individual things, and let's difference between C and C++. So this is one of the important things. So you have tutorial point side where it's defining about difference between C and C++ in 6 different key points. That is introduction. C is developed by, so that's a simple thing. So you need not to worry about who developed and which year it developed or where it developed. But language type. So as mentioned before, C is procedural programming. So it's a sequential thing. We need to use a C program in a proper structure, that is step by step, step by step. It's a kind of procedure thing. But on other hand, C++ supports both procedural and object-oriented programming. So OOPS feature support. C does not support OOPS concepts. C++ supports OOPS concepts like polymorphism, encapsulation, inheritance. So all these things you studied in Python programming. So data security. So C does not support in data security. As we are working in object-oriented programming, it can be considered as encapsulation is the major concern to be there as a data security mechanism. So data breach can be avoided using data abstraction or data encapsulation mechanisms, because we hide the actual procedure, we hide the actual components to the outer world, so that only work can be shown, but how the work done was hidden. So like that we can provide some sort of data security. And also driven type. So C general known as functional driven language. So functional driven language means it's based on functions. So whenever we require, we call the functions. And in C++, on the other hand, C++ is known as object driven language. So whenever we create functions, we need to use those functions within those blocks in C programming. So the scope is the major concern in C programming, but C++ it's based on objects. So once the object is created, we can call the objects, and the variables uh, can be modified when we are running in the runtime. While time of execution, we can take different variables for those objects created. And features supported, so you can study all these things regarding difference between C and C++. That's a basic question, and you can expect 2 out of 4 sets, that difference between C and C++. If they are not giving, it's a well and good. If they give that question, it's a value added for you, because all these 6 points can be well remembered by you all guys, because you are in 2-1. You can't say that I can't remember these simple features. And the disadvantage of conventional programming. So it's asking about disadvantages of using previous procedural or conventional programming type, and in difference of C++. So we have all these things, right? These 5 points, these in these 6 key components, these 5 things can be considered as the disadvantages of traditional or procedural conventional programming structure, and the key concepts of object-oriented programming. So what is the basic key component of object-oriented programming? So you can study in this one. Okay, W3 schools is good for you, so it will be in easy English. So so these are the things, several advantages of using procedural programming. So like this, what are the concerns you are having can be explained while by these kind of object-oriented programming structures. So you need to speak about the disadvantages and advantages, and what is the difference between using each and every programming structure. So OOPS is faster and easier to execute. So OOPS provide a clear structure of program. So the structure of programming, that is step by step, level by level structuring, is the most important thing which you can acquire using OOPS concepts. So here the title describes object-oriented programming has several advantages over procedural programming. So what are the object-oriented programming is giving to you is are the disadvantages. It's a kind of directly proportional. You can directly tell that all the features which OOPS is providing is not available in procedural programming. It's a slow and not structured. You can explain like that. So you can see this type of websites to get a clear picture on what you need to study, and key concepts are it's already there in W3 schools. Advantages also is also there, object oriented programming. Here you need to explain about how C++ is considered as object oriented programming, and what are the advantages of using OOPS concepts, and what are the disadvantages. Even every programming language has disadvantages. You need to mention the disadvantages of using object oriented programming through C++, and this first unit is all completely depending on a theoretical part. You need to study these kind of theory structures, and in some positions you need to explain with some sort of coding samples why it is important. So that means you need to create a class, you need to create an object to the class, and you need to call that object, and you need to print something. So it's a kind of semantic representation of the data, and it will be a meaningful order if you explain the concept like that. And coming to second unit, classes and objects, constructor, destructor, everything, operator overloading, function overloading, all the similar concepts which are available in Python programming can be considered here. So all the things like classes and objects, how it is describing a class, how a class can be created. So class is the collection of objects, it's a kind of blueprint. Objects are the things, the variables which can be handled. Actually the variables are handled by the objects, and all these things need to be understood. And the scope of the variables, global scope and local scope, all these things. So scope is the major concept which you need to study, and member functions, operator overloading. So overloading member function, nested classes, constructor, destructor. So you have the same question in Python programming, member functions. The same question is being repeated here in Unit 2 in OOPS concept. So the scope, indirectly we spoke about scope in Python programming. The same thing is happening again. Scope, local scope and global scope. You need to explain those kind of things. So scope question is compulsory in either in 2 sets out of 4, and member functions is a compulsory subject. Is a very easy concept, that is, and constructor and destructor. So how a constructor can be created, how a destructor can be created. Actually, while explaining in Python programming, I explained that underscore underscore del double underscore again is the function used to for destructor concept. The same thing you can use, similar concepts can be used in OOPS through C++. And characteristics of a constructor and destructor. This is a theory question. You need to understand that one, and you need to write thing. And if it is a disadvantage and advantage question, you need not to write any kind of codes or something like algorithms. If it is a direct question like what is a constructor, explain about constructor. If it is a destructor, explain about destructor. So you need to write about constructor, you need to write about advantages and disadvantages, and then you need to write the syntax and program with output. So like that you need to write. And coming to unit 3 and in unit 4, wait a second, you have anonymous objects. So you have anonymous objects concepts. This one is not that much of important question, but if you want to study, you can go with that one. So anonymous objects. So anonymous objects in C++, you can search, and anonymous objects is essential value of no name, because they have no name. There is no way to refer them beyond the point. So where they are created. So the anonymous objects can be used where they are created, because they are not having any explicit name to call whenever they required in the program. So that means exception scope. So consequently, that are exceptions, meaning they are created, evaluated, and destroyed, and all the within a single expression. So we cannot use these anonymous objects whenever we require, because they are created in the same block, in the one block, and they are used, they are destroyed. So that's a matter. So there is no point of reusing those kind of objects in entire programming outside of the scope, because it's an exceptional scope. And the same thing in Python programming, operator overloading, type conversions, type casting, and inheritance, keywords, keyword operators, comparison operators, arithmetic operators, and logical operators, everything. Overloading, assignment operator, how you need to overload an assignment operator. To write that one, first you need to understand what is an assignment operator, then only you can understand how you can override the this kind of assignment operator, or operator overloading, override. These two concepts are very much common in object-oriented programming. So whenever you are writing any kind of programming language subject, you need to understand this operator overloading and overriding. One is the structure is similar, signature is different. Other thing is structures are different, signature is similar. These kind of things are different from operator overloading and overriding things. And here you have the concept of inheritance and reusability. Types of inheritance, you have 5 types of inheritance. You need to write that 5 types: definition, syntax, program, and output. So everything. And you have the block diagrams, right? All the block diagrams you need to write. And please do follow the indentation, even though you don't have any kind of indentation in OOPS. So it will be a good practice for you if you write indentation. And here coming to 4th unit, so pointers, address variables. So how the objects can be communicated using address variables. So the pointers are the major concerns to operate on these kind of address variables. So how a pointers can be accessible, and a pointers declaration, pointers to a class, pointer object, the pointer to the derived class, base class. That means again inheritance. So how a base class can be communicating with the derived class in the form of pointers, how the properties are being shared using from parent class to the child class using this kind of inheritance concepts, and in the pointers variables, how encapsulation can be done, how polymorphism can be done, how virtual functions can be operated using pointers. Virtual functions means they are not physically present to view. So virtual means which is not physical. So you cannot see or feel those kind of things. They are used, they are created whenever they require. So first, such type of things, the pointers are most required. And building a C++ virtual functions, rules of virtual function, virtual destructor, all these things can be explained in this 4th unit. So everything in this 4th unit is related to pointer concept. This is the most important unit in entire syllabus. So you need to focus on how you need to get data related to pointers and how the pointers can be accessible. Let me show a website to operate. So I think Geeks for Geeks or any kind of is most useful for you, and pointers in C, Geeks for Geeks, Tutorial Point, Java T Point. These are the different sites where you can study these kind of stuff. And I will share yeah, W3 schools or Geeks for Geeks Point concept is there. So I can share these websites with you so that you can study. And coming to fifth unit, so this fifth unit is generic programming with templates, that is the reusability. So these generic programs will be in the form of a component. So these components once created, they can be reused. That means, for example, consider Amazon and Flipkart. You have both the different types of e-commerce websites, but the concept behind the business model behind those two types will be similar. That is online selling and purchasing. So the same thing is happening with this kind of template designing. That is, once you create a template, you can replace the variables whenever you require. That is, if you see Wix website, WIX, where we can create free websites, the templates will be there. We can modify the data whenever in the place where we require. That is a creation of a template based application. That means OOPS concepts can be handled there efficiently. That is, objects can be modified whenever we require. So the virtual functions, the concept and the pointer variables can be accessible in those kind of websites easily, and we can get effective websites. And defining the class templates, normal function templates, again overloading of a template function. Bubble sort example is there as you work with the data structures exam previously in the last week. So the same concept, a linked list implementation using C++ and try, throw, and catch. That is exception handling. Exception handling is also the same concept we discussed in Python programming. But there we have only three types of exception handling variables: try, except, and finally. But here we have different types of exception handling mechanisms. So exception handling is the most important concept from Unit 5. So coming to bottom up approach, again Unit 5, exception handling, generic program exception handling, Unit 5. uh, again coming from bottom up approach, exception handling is the most important concept, and also templates, how the templates are being overloaded or overridden. All these concepts need to be understood. And in fourth unit, you need to focus on binding polymorphism, how to bind the objects in using polymorphism, and the pointer variables is the most important concept in uh, s- uh, fourth unit. Then in the third unit, you have operator overloading. All the functions related stuff is being discussed in unit 3. Unit 2 is discussing about constructor and destructor and other features of functions, that is member classes, all these things where member functions, all these things can be discussed in unit 2. And unit 1 is completely theory part of introduction to C++. All these things you need to understand, and first of all I would like to suggest you go with unit 1. So you can study within 1 hour the things related to unit 1, and then go to unit 2. Then go to unit 4, then go to unit 3. So you keep unit 5 as an option, as you don't have any 2 marks question. You not to worry about entire syllabus things. And if you study unit 1 to 4, you can score major part of the uh, exam. And if you want to score best marks, you can go with 1 2 3 4. I would like to suggest to go with 1 2 3 4, 1 2 4 and 3. So this is the order I am suggesting you to. And I think this video may help you to understand what the importance of OOPS concepts and how to study for object-oriented programming examination using C++. And if there is any direct question, you need to answer about that question first within the form of definition. Then you need to write the syntax and the code. If it is a theory question, you can easily understand whether it is a theory question or practical question. If it is a theory question, you need to give completely theory part and don't write any stories. So if it is storytelling, it will be striked out. So I hope this video is helpful for you. Thanks for watching this video, and if you have any doubts, please post in the comment section. I will do same video, I mean such concepts for you for the next videos. Thanks for watching this video, and if you are not subscriber to my channel, please do subscribe my channel and press the bell icon so that you cannot miss any kind of updates of my channel in further. Thanks for watching this video. Bye.